Morning. Another beautiful morning in Kenya.
It's exactly the same every morning here. Just 12 degrees, no wind, perfect training conditions.
Week 6, on your marks, set, go! And so this morning we have?
We will have like 20-minute warm-up, I think like 4K down there, and then they will have uphill, I found that after the 4K, and then like 10 by 1 minute in uphill in 10K effort, and then drop back as recovery.
So this is our hill.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Oh, hang on.
I'm sorry.
All good, all good, all good.
Sorry, I just like was gonna run it straight over unless I dodged. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. I think when you're in the depths of marathon training, you can focus a lot on marathon pace and easy running, and if you do a lot of that and avoid altogether the VO2 max 5K, 10K work, you can get into this sort of weird, I wouldn't call it hole, but position where you sort of lost your speed to a point where like marathon pace starts to feel like just off marathon pace, and marathon pace feels good, but anything harder, you quickly lactate and you quickly fatigue because you just haven't exercised that zone. And so I think it's good to add in where you can, based on your recovery and your training load, some efforts a bit faster. So some people would incorporate strides. Maybe it's just 10 by 100 meters. That's something maybe somewhat similar, but a little bit faster and shorter. I think hill is good because you're sort of using slightly different muscles going up an incline. So you might not be using the exact same muscles as running on the flat when you're doing long marathon work. So yeah, I think it's good to be incorporating some VO2 max and some speed stuff in the marathon block where you can. So the marathon pace ideally feels just a little bit easier when you get to race day. And if there is a surge or there is a situation where you have to go a little bit quicker for whatever reason, maybe you're bridging the gap between two groups, you don't fatigue really quickly. I think that's probably the point of them. So, yeah.
Let's go, right?
Let's go.
Join us for a hill rep. Hill rep.
I'm doing tempo. You wanna join in?
Almost done. 2 more to go.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. So it's important to know, yeah, these aren't 100% effort. They're probably like 85, 90. Focusing on good technique.
Nice one, baby.
But we're not supposed to be at the end of the workout and be busting our balls and all out, and yeah. Because,
3.
long run 2 days ago, only 48 hours ago.
Let's go.
Big session on Thursday. So it's Tuesday morning now, obviously. And then big workout on Sunday. Marathon specific, so yeah.
Good job.
Welcome back to the Berlin Marathon build here in Kenya. This is episode 6, and this is week 6 of 8 weeks of the marathon specific training block. And this is the peak week of training, as in volume, as in fatigue, as in, yeah, like right now I'm recording this 11 days before the Berlin Marathon, and I can say I'm very tired. And yeah, as I mentioned, this last week was the biggest volume week I've done in the entire block. And I think it's the biggest volume week I've done maybe in a couple of years. I can't remember exactly. I don't count volume too specifically, but it was 153 kilometers for the week, which is about 96 miles. But before I go through the week quickly, I just want to share 2 quick announcements. The first one is that Sweat Elite will be holding a winter training camp this January in Portugal. We've held 5 training camps so far here in Kenya. In fact, we're in the middle of one right now. We've got some guests up in the guest house up here, but we're holding our first one outside of Kenya, and it will be in Monte Gordo in Portugal on the 6th to the 20th of January. So Monte Gordo is a hub that many European national teams go to in the winter because the weather is perfect and the training facilities are really good. And if you're interested in joining us on that camp, we can take up to 20 people. You'll find the link at the top of this video right now, or in the link in the description of the video. And there'll be plenty more details on the website if you'd like to join us. Second quick announcement is the Sweat Elite Coaching Academy that we started earlier this year that has over 75 members now. We're taking up to 10 more new members. Clara Evans, 229 female marathoner from the UK, is my co-coach. and coaches athletes in the coaching academy herself. We're taking 5 each this week, so adding 10 more to the coaching academy. So if you're interested in joining us, you can learn more about that in the description of this video as well, or you can find the link at the top of this video right now. So recapping the week that was the 6th week of training, as I mentioned, it was the peak week of volume, 153K, 96, I think, miles that is. It started with the 10 by 1 minute hill session that you just saw with Eric that went very well in the morning. That was after having Monday off, so that was on the Tuesday morning. I took the Monday off because I was, if you've watched the full series, I do tend to often take Mondays off after the long run. But the 10 by 1 minute hills was in the morning with Eric. In the afternoon, it was just an 8K easy run, 5 miles, just jogging. On the Wednesday morning was another Africa loop. So those of you that have followed this series throughout will know that I do this loop most weeks. In the middle of the week. And if you do end up coming to Kenya at any point, if this video series has inspired you or you go on your own accord, I do recommend doing this loop a couple of times because it takes you from the center of Iten more or less, and from any guest house that you start, it's between 18 and 20K. From this guest house, it's about 20.8K. And it takes you through the outback, basically, of Iten. You go through these farmlands and you go through these sort of little, I wouldn't call them towns, but sort of little clusters of shops and houses, and it's really cool. You meet people along the way, and it's got about 320 meters, which I think is about 1,000 feet of elevation gain. So if you do go, I recommend following this route on Strava if you can. I don't think it's necessarily for a easy day, but it's for a day that you can probably manage a moderate run. So I did 20.8K with Mark in the morning, the Africa loop. In the afternoon, I joined Angus and Callum for a forest run. So the forest, we recapped on a previous episode, so do go and check that out. I think it was last week or the week before. Very technical terrain. I just did 9K. The pace is always a lot slower through there because it's sort of very hilly and it's almost like a perfect place for trail runners to be preparing. So yeah, that was Wednesday afternoon. On Thursday was another threshold session, very similar to the 6x2K last week, but we did 8 by 5 minutes with 3 minutes float. Almost exactly the same workout, more or less. The 6x2K is about 6 minutes 40. This was about 5 minutes. But last week we had 1K float recovery, which is about 350. This week we had 3 minutes. So sort of just the reps and the rest were a little bit shorter. But overall, our average pace was a little bit quicker, which was good. We got down to 329 per K, which is really good for me on Moyben Road, over 18K. So very similar session. And if you're interested in learning more about what they look like, that was on the last episode, feature of the last episode. The next day I woke up and did a 27K run in a 2-hour run. Now, occasionally, well, actually quite often, on my easy days, I'll wake up and just run purely to how I feel, and that's normally between 60 and 80 minutes. Sometimes I'll just feel good and I'll run a little bit further. And on this particular run, I ended up running for an hour out and an hour back. And honestly, even though at the time it was a really good run, I felt great, I do wonder if this was a little bit long for me on that particular day, because now 5 days later, having done this and the sessions I'm about to tell you about, I am feeling really fatigued, and I think these next few days I need to be really careful. So even though I did do this 2-hour run at 4:21 per K, which is probably the effort of around 4 minutes per K, or maybe even faster at sea level, because this had 300 meters of elevation gain. Honestly, if I could go back in time, I probably would have done 80 or 90 minutes, because the full week was very big volume and there was already 3 big sessions. The 10 by 1 minute hills on Tuesday, the 8 by 5 minutes on the Thursday, and then the long run I'm about to get to. So, you know, can't go back in time, and it was a great run, but at the same time, it's probably one thing I look back at last week and think I probably should have reduced the volume a little bit there, and if I wanted to add more mileage, add it to maybe an afternoon run. The following day on Saturday, I just did a 10K run in the morning, preparing for the, if I could say there's one of the most, well, if I could call one session the most important session of the entire block, it's probably this session. 2 weeks before marathon race day, 2 by 10K at marathon effort. It's a session that I build up to in more or less every single marathon block that I've done over the last few years. Everything sort of progresses towards doing this session. It's normally 2 weeks out. Sometimes it might fall 2.5 or 3 weeks out, depending on travel or half marathon races or whatnot. But this 2 by 10K at marathon effort was on the Sunday, and it was the last long run leading into the Berlin Marathon. Simulation day.
Simulation day, baby!
Yes, we've probably got the most marathon-specific marathon simulation session you can possibly have today. So we're gonna get 5K out, 5K back, come back here, change shoes, have a drink. It's basically a 10K warm-up and then a 21K effort. And that 21K effort is 10K marathon, 1K jog, 10K marathon, and then 5K cool down, total 36.
So practicing everything, practicing the fueling. Yeah, it's gonna be really good. Looking forward to it. But I'm a little bit nervous because I know this workout hurts at the end. How's everyone else feeling? Yeah.
Eric!
Yeah, last one.
12 guys, just music blaring. We're just like, look where we are, middle of nowhere. Yeah. We're gonna party in the morning.
Angus is the party starter.
My Ben, baby, let's go!
How are you?
Yeah, not bad.
After your newfound fame online?
My newfound fame, yeah. It was nice to see some of my fans in the comments section.
That is Beijing 2008. Wow.
Yeah.
That is actually so good.
That's good, isn't it?
Oh wow.
Little known fact, Ben is running competed for Kazakhstan at the Beijing 2008 Olympics. Yeah.
Okay, adjust your watches.
Just your watches.
Yeah. Everyone's adjusted watches. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, let's go. So why do I build up to doing this specific 2x10K session? I think that in order to get the best result at the marathon, you have to do something very specific, almost like a marathon simulation session, somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks before, because it's close enough to be able to get the right stimulus for the marathon, but also far enough away to recover from and to hit the marathon in the right time frame. It also can't be quite as hard as a marathon, obviously, because it's very difficult to recover from a marathon. And I think that when you're under training fatigue, I think about half the distance of a marathon at the marathon effort, and the marathon effort is sort of marathon pace adjusted to altitude and also adjusted to your training fatigue. I think that this is the perfect amount of volume to do at the right intensity to be able to gain a lot from it aerobically, aerobic power threshold wise, but also have enough time to then recover from, do a couple, maybe 1 or 2 more sessions, and then hit race day being sort of as sharp as you possibly can.
Reem is taking over filming duties.
Oh, let's see how I do.
Oh yeah.
So Angus here is gonna try to do our first 10K at marathon effort. It should be in like 34:30, which is probably like 32:30, 32 high, sea level equivalent. How's your training been?
Yeah, not bad.
3 60-minute tempo runs a week.
Yeah,
With Kenyan groups.
that's basically it. With a 5-hour cycle thrown in yesterday for good measure.
So I gave him the challenge earlier this week to try and do our first 10K at 3:27, 3:28.
Bender.
Good, looking good.
Cruising.
Okay, so we've done 10K, it was 39:52, so right on the pace. And yeah, we're about to get into the 2x10K, concrete gel with caffeine. And now we have 21K, 10K on, 1K off, 10K on. And we hope to hit between 3:25 and 3:30 pace, because we figure that's probably about the equivalent effort of 3:15 to 3:20 at sea level. I reckon Angus will hold on for 8, I'm thinking. So Angus, how long do you reckon you're going to keep up for? Do you reckon you can go 10K in 34:30?
10K is the aim.
Go with the Super Blast.
Playing with the Super
Not
Blast.
quite a super shoe, but sort of a fast trainer.
I consider them a super shoe. I think they're flipping fantastic.
They always feel like almost as fast as one.
We'll see. Hopefully 10K.
This video series is sponsored by Soar Running, my favourite running apparel brand based out of the UK. You'll see everything I wear in this video series to be Soar Running. They produce the best singlets and the best tights and marathon shorts in the game. Top for Running, one of Europe's fastest growing running retail stores that stock all the top brands, all the latest models at the lowest prices. You can see them at the Berlin Marathon. They'll have a booth at the Expo. If you're looking for a new pair of racers or trainers, do not look past Top for Running and use the code SWEATELITE at checkout to score the lowest possible price. You can find the link in the description of this video. Precision Fuel and Hydration, look no further for the highest quality electrolytes, carbohydrate drink mix, and gels on the market. The caffeine gel is my absolute favorite, and you can use the code SWEATELITE-YT for YouTube, 15% off your order at Precision Fuel and Hydration. Pillar Performance, a sports micronutrition company that I've been working with for quite some time, that create the triple magnesium blend that has really improved my sleep. You can use the code SWEAT15 for 15% off your first order. HVMN's Ketone-IQ, a relatively new supplement used by many of the world's best endurance athletes, such as Sarah Hall, Cameron Worth, and others. You can use the code SWEATELITE to score a 20% off discount at checkout over at HVMN, and you can experience the magic of ketones yourself.
This guy. 10K, easy. Thanks.
And so we did the first 10K in 34:29, which is just under, so I think it's 3:26 per K. I think Strava showed 3:27s, but more or less the effort was right on point for us. Eric did it very well as well. So up until the halfway point, we were tracking perfectly for the workout.
I think he's gonna do it.
Yes, Angus. Woo!
Come on, 1K to go.
Woo!
300 meters. Good effort, man. Wow, that was hard. Beautiful.
Woo!
Well done. Let's go. 34:28. No.
Did you do the whole thing?
I did.
That's sick.
Finished it.
Is that a 10K PB?
It's a 10K BB. Yeah, baby.
On fucking Boy Ben Road.
Yes, guys, well done.
In 1K.
Okay.
Good stuff, Max.
The last 5K of this 10K is going to feel exactly what it's like at the 30 to 35K mark in a race.
So after the first 10K in 34:29, I felt great. I felt like that was just the perfect first 10K. It was basically exactly how the first 10K of a marathon should feel. But keeping in mind, we already sort of started on somewhat tired legs as we did a 10K in 39:50 beforehand. And of course, we're also carrying the training fatigue into the session as well. But that was perfect. We then had a 1 kilometer recovery that wasn't supposed to be easy, but it also wasn't supposed to be hard. Normally at sea level, I would do a 1K float, which is probably normally about 3:45 to 3:50. But at altitude, it's a lot harder and a lot slower to recover from work at threshold or near threshold. So we decided to do the 1K, before the workout, we decided to do it in about 4:30. It ended up being 4:24. We then hit the second 10K and set out at exactly the same pace, around 3:26, 3:25, and carried all the way through to the end at 3:25 per K average. Eric was on fire and managed to do the last couple of K and closer to 3:20. I did wonder if I should try and go with him. I probably could have, but I thought it would have been just pushing it maybe a little bit too close to threshold and maybe a little bit too hard, which is exactly what I feel like you shouldn't do in a workout. I'm not saying Eric did that. Eric, I think, controlled the workout very well, but I wanted to make sure that at the end of the session, at the end of the second 10K at least, I could have at least carried on for another 3K, ideally 5K. And I had in my mind, with a kilometer to go, if I had to go 5K more, I definitely could have. So where do we come up with the pace and how do we actually go about setting the specific times for this workout? Marathon effort is a term used by a lot of professional athletes. It's a term that I've used plenty of times on Strava or on during this video series. Marathon effort is essentially your goal pace adjusted to your current training fatigue and adjusted to the altitude, or maybe you might be facing a course that has some hills. You might also only have access, you might only have a course available to you that's on trail, wherever you might be. So you have to sort of adjust a little bit to those things and make sure that how the pace on the day will feel is adjusted to that pace or effort in the training session. So for me, I knew that in Berlin, I want to try and run about 2:18 or 2:19, which is about 3:15 to 3:17 per kilometer. Remembering that the GPS isn't exactly accurate. My GPS will not show 42.195K. It'll probably show closer to 42.6 or 42.7K. So on my watch, on my GPS, it'll be about 3:15 to 3:16, 3:17 per K. And so I thought, adjust that about 10 seconds slower for the training fatigue, the fact that we're at 2,200 meters elevation, which is over 7,000 feet, and the fact that we're on a slightly hilly course. Moyburn isn't dead flat. Over the 20K, we climb about 120 meters, which is not much, but there's still some hills. So we came up with the idea beforehand to try and hit between 325 and 330 per K was the original idea. But in the end, it was 326 and 325 per K. This session really couldn't have gone any better. So that took us to 31K after the 10K warm-up, the 10K marathon effort, 1K easy, 10K marathon effort, and then we did 5K easy cool down to make it 36K. Some would say maybe a very long run for 2 weeks before the race day, but I do think, based on sort of my own experiences training for marathons now for over 5 years, I don't think that's too much. I just do think that the next week you have to be very careful about the volume and the intensity and make sure that you're recovering enough. But all in all, this was an awesome week, and yeah, really looking forward to these last couple of weeks of training as they get easier and easier leading into the Berlin Marathon on the 24th.
What a machine.
Yes, boy!
Yeah.
Let's go!
Ale, ale, ale!
I'm going 5 more.
Yes! Let's go!
34,
13.
Yeah, you're
Faster than the first one.
Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah, because I tried to faster than the first one. But the first one is like faster than I expect already. Because I work my plan is like 35, straight.
Yeah.
14 days till the big dance.
I'd say that was probably one of your best looking workouts
Yeah.
of the whole training block.
It's probably the best workout I've done in Kenya.
Wow.
No, I couldn't ask for any more than that. I was hoping beforehand that we could average, probably, I was like in my head, I had like 328, 327. So we were 326, 325, so.
Not so bad.
And the even better thing is it was warm today.
Yeah,
like
I was just gonna say.
probably 16, 17. We all noticed it in the warm-up.
Yeah.
Which is great because it looks like the weather in Berlin will be the same at the end. But Angus, I can't believe Angus ran 34:28.
You nailed it.
That is so good on.
Yeah.
I had
On this
all
course.
faith in you. I was forgetting what that ice cream treat was at Cary View. And I was gonna scream it out, it's almost there!
You can get it!
We're gonna have it tonight!
No, that's an awesome workout. All right, let's go 5K so we get 36.
I must say, I think that's the best Matt and Eric have looked the whole block. They flippin' crushed it.